Hello, everyone, and welcome. Now, if you are tuning in, chances are maybe you're a little bit curious about AI, or maybe you're a lot curious about it. Maybe your to do list is long, maybe your energy is low, maybe you're all of those things, and you've probably heard a dozen reasons, if not hundreds of reasons, as to how AI is going to take over your job. So thanks so much for joining us and tuning in today. Now today we're not going to talk about how tech is replacing you. Today we are going to talk about my guest is a powerhouse and is going to share with you about systems, efficiency, and is an absolute powerhouse and guides professionals in transitioning from being completely burnt out to being time rich by using systems, automation. And so, please help me welcome productivity specialist and AI strategist, Melisa Meral. Let me get you on here, Melissa. Thanks for joining me.
Hello from backstage. I love this platform. It's so
Oh,
great to
this is
be here.
good. All right. So, Melissa, we're going to go ahead and get into it. You have become a leading voice for individuals, professionals who are maybe physically mentally exhausted by their to-do lists, and they're hearing that AI is coming for their jobs, that AI is going to replace them, but you argue that it could actually be a cure for the burnout. And so my first question for you that I think a lot of people are curious about is how do we start setting boundaries when the digital noise feels so loud and there's so many different angles to this?
Yeah. So the digital noise, the digital clutter, the online just mess that
Yeah.
we all get bombarded with every single day. So I'm Melisa Meral. I'm from San Diego. I lived there for almost 35 years, and I ran a home organizing business as a side hustle for about 10 years. So I had a company called Let's Get You Organized from 2011 to about 2021, and in that company, I was in the homes of people dealing with their physical clutter. So learning a lot about their lifestyles and, how much stuff can really weigh us down mentally, physically, and emotionally. And then not only that, but also digital clutter. So I had clients, you open the phone and there's that little, email app, right? And it has 2,000 unread messages or maybe 9,000 notifications from all these different apps on our phones. Same with email. We've all probably opened our email after a vacation or maybe a maternity leave or an extended sabbatical or something, and just been like, I am tempted to just hit delete all because this is
Yes.
clutter, and it really does weigh us down mentally, physically, and emotionally. So that's a little bit about my background. But alongside that home organizing business, I was in HR and people ops for over 10 years. So for over a decade, I worked for big biotech companies, Fortune 100s. And in that work, it was, this was like pre-COVID era, right? So you're in your cubicle and you got your head down and you're doing your quote unquote busy work, and you're pushing paper. And, I'm old enough to have been part of the faxing and the pagers and all that fun stuff. And so I feel like those were simpler times, and now we're just in this age where the notifications never stop. Whether that's Teams calls or, we all have PTSD probably from that Slack sound effect or that Teams sound effect. Right. You hear it and you're like a Pavlov dog. You're like, oh, and it just gets your heart rate going. Anyway, I'll get into more on this, but it's just nonstop, and, hustle culture is part of it, always on. Emergency mode for a lot of people in HR. We tend to be like the people that have to put out all the fires in the company. So yeah, it never stops. When you have your phone, because most of us do things on our phone, I do recommend watching your screen time. So if you're an Apple user, you can get your weekly screen time reports in your weekly feed. You can also sign up for something called Screen Zen or Opal. Those are free apps, and
Okay.
those will actually lock you out of like your social media if you need to have like a focused work time. If you're trying to push through a big deadline or a project, those two apps, and I'll comment them on this post later,
That'd
but
be great.
yeah, just little, tips and tricks that can help you stay sane in this world of AI.
Yeah, no, that's good. So, for what about for those individuals who let's say that they're using technology in their day-to-day work and they are or it's being introduced and they're still trying to find how they bring value to the workplace as a person, and now on top of that, you're saying, I'm going to be the critic here. You're saying, "Hey, let's introduce automation. Let's use automation." Are we encouraging people to essentially work themselves out of a job, or are we encouraging them to minimize the burnout, and what's the difference? Or are we doing both?
Yeah. I think minimizing burnout, just for our mental health so that we can show up as regulated, healthy humans in our work and use
Yeah,
these tools to our advantage. I have a neuro linguistic programming certification. So it's like light neuroscience for like neuroscience for dummies anyway. But I love NLP because it's all about rewiring your brain. Your brain
I love
isn't your
that.
brain forever. There are channels and neural pathways that can kind of quote unquote calcify, but your brain can constantly be changing. That saying, like, an old dog can't learn new tricks. It's not true. We have seniors, we have, centenarians that are using AI. Like, you can learn anything at any age. It's not too late. But with the hemispheric lateralization, this is a big word, hemispheric lateralization. You've all heard of it, surprisingly. Right brain, left brain, right? Let's make it really simple. So, your left side of your brain is all about complicated solutions, like computational power. With enough computational power, a problem can be solved. The right side of your brain is where the complex questions of your life live. So that's like your faith, your love, your happiness, the meaning of life, your purpose. So the more time that you can spend on those right brain activities, family, friends, faith, being outside, working out, being healthy, the healthier of a human you're going to be, the less burnt out you're going to be. So the more that you spend time in your right brain activities, the less you burn out. And so that's why the left side of your brain is happy to use AI. It's like, oh, it can write this, all company email that I've been worried about for a week on, and I have analysis paralysis. Oh, sure. Yes. Let's offload that to the AI gods. Anyway, so think of your right brain and your left brain. Think of what lights you up and what brings you joy in your job, what gives you energy. Chances are that's tied to your right brain. So, like, I love L&D, training, workshop facilitation. I always wanted to be a teacher when I was a little girl. And so when I'm doing something like this, I'm like, yes, like, I want to go run 5 miles after this. Not really, because it's hot as hell here. But you know what I mean? Whereas
Yeah.
if you put me into something that I don't love, AKA has to do with math, then, and I'm running comp benchmarks, or I'm doing, calculations for an open enrollment period, I'm going to like lose my mind.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to use AI in those moments where the tools can be effective.
Oh, that's good. That's good. So, for really quick, for those of you who are just joining in, Melissa is talking us through how we can still add value in the age of AI, how we can use it as a tool in order to keep from getting burnt out. So, if you're tuning in and you have questions or if you have comments, feel free to put those in the chat. I know that Melissa would be amazing at providing additional insight because this is not my forte. That's why Melissa's here. So let's ask those questions that you may have. Melissa, so you just mentioned a few minutes ago, as far as, when we use AI, it is so that we basically, it's that part of our brain that wants to use it. It's helping us. It's creating space for us to spend more time on that right side of the brain. Did I summarize that? Perfect. All right. So let's say you have someone who loves to work, and there's this saying that we always fill our time with something. And so if AI is saving someone 5 hours worth of time,
Mhm. Mhm.
how do we then stop ourselves? How do individuals then stop themselves from then finding additional work, additional reasons to burn themselves out or use their time that's not so efficient because, hey, I've just saved 5 hours here. Let me go book on additional 5 hours of work.
Yeah. So I wrote a book in 2020. It's called Pivoting with Purpose. And the subtitle is The Hamster Wheel, the Rat Race, and Other Career Myths Holding You Back. And like chapter one, right from the get, is what do you want? And
Love
this is
that.
a question that I have seen so many professionals like never answer and never even ask sometimes. What do I want? Sometimes we just kind of go through the motions. You know, we go to school, maybe we get good grades, maybe we go to college, maybe we get our PHR or our SPHR, we gain some experience in HR, we find ourselves in this career, we work our way up the, you know, coordinator, assistant, generalist, manager, blah, 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 like path. And we
Yeah.
find ourselves, you know, now that we're in our 30s, our 40s, our 50s at director level roles, VP roles. I have a few colleagues that I started with way back in the day that are CHROs now. And some of them, to be quite honest, are like, how did I get here? Like, do I even want this? Is this even like what I really want to be doing with my life and with all of my time? So, for those types of people, if you're feeling burnt out, if you're feeling like you're stuck in a rut, if you're feeling like you're in that hamster wheel or that rat race, I really encourage you to ask yourself that question of what do you want? What do I want? And get, if you're a pen and paper person, get a journal out, and it could literally be like, I want a glass of wine. I want a nap. I need to go to the bathroom. Like, are you checking in with yourself on a day-to-day basis, if not hourly or by the minute? It's crazy. Like, we forget that like we're in this, you know, meat suit, and we have like a soul in here that actually needs to be, you know,
Yeah.
doing things that light us up. So if you were to get 5 hours back in that hypothetical situation, I would say go back to your list of what you want. I want to, and it could be, you know, goal setting stuff. I want to lose weight, or I want to spend more time with my family. I want to be more present with my children and not be on my phone all the time, answering emails at all hours and putting out fires in the middle of the night, you know?
Yeah.
Uh, it starts with that foundational question of what do I want?
I love that. I love that so much because that's so very important that we have to go back to some type of foundation, and that helps us to fill that time then with based off of what we want. Now that we have that additional 5 hours, let's go back to what our goals are. Let's go back to what our priorities are and fill the time with that.
Mhm.
On that topic, and as we kind of surround value in the workplace,
Mhm.
let's say that someone wants to learn how to be more valuable in the workplace. And for I feel like everyone that definition may be slightly different.
Mhm.
So if someone is looking at AI and they're looking at, you know, how to use their to become more time rich,
Mhm.
how are they or how can they use AI in a way that creates progress, not just noise, not just busyness, but it's actually something that is creating progress in their career.
Yeah. So when we say AI, it's like, you know, AI, 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 AI. Yeah. Everywhere you look, AI. This isn't anything new. I mean, this is stuff that
Right.
people have been using for years without knowing it. So, like, it's like if you get into your car and it knows that you go to the gym at the same time every day, or it knows that you drive to that coffee shop at the same time every day, it'll be like directions to blah, blah, blah gym. And I'm like, that's weird. Go away. No. But it knows. And the same thing with like YouTube. It'll recommend a video, or you'll get into that algorithm, quote unquote. We've all heard of the algorithm. Um, that is all AI. And so is like if you've ever used a chat bot on your bank's website and, you know, ordered a new debit card or something, all of these things that we've been using for years. What the biggest kind of trend right now that people are just catching on to, if you're like a, I don't want to call you like a late bloomer or a newcomer to AI, you're probably working within generative AI. So generative AI is the artificial intelligence is generating content. So it's generating copywriting verbiage for you. It's writing your next um, total rewards, you know, benefit open enrollment email. It's creating the flyer for your next ERG employee picnic, or it's, you know, all of these things it's generating for you. That's like level one AI. And then there's like a million other things that we could get into, like AI voice technology, conversational AI, machine learning, natural language processing. It's NLP, but not the NLP that I know. I don't know anything about natural language processing, except that I use it. I don't know how to create it or code it. Automation. And then the big one that those of you that are maybe like level 2 AI user is agentic AI. So if you're asking, what tools can be used that are going to help you and not just be noise, right? You're not just like, I'm participating in this trend with this caricature of me on LinkedIn. Like those things are fun, but they're are they moving the needle forward in your life, in your business, in your career? I don't know. Maybe it's good for LinkedIn networking. But if you're trying to do things that are going to really move the needle in your company, in your department, in your team, agentic AI is probably where you're going to end up. And it's not a matter of if you're going to use these tools, but it's when you're going to use these tools.
Can you explain a little bit more about what Gen Tech is, just for someone who is just like, what are you talking about? Like, what,
Yeah.
and when do we know when we should use it versus
Yes.
not?
So in HR, so it's agentic. So if you think of like Hollywood and everybody has an agent, like, oh, I got to call my
Oh,
agent.
a Gen Tech.
Agentic.
Gotcha. Not
Yeah.
a Gen Tech. Okay, okay.
Not Gen Z tech. I mean, it is kind of Gen Z tech, but
I've
agentic.
never heard this term before.
I'm like, I think I'm saying that right. Agentic, apricot, I don't know.
Hey,
Anyway,
spell it and I'll put it in the chat in case someone's trying to Google it as we're talking.
AGENTIC, agentic. Anyway,
Okay.
those workflows are built to autonomously plan, make decisions, take initiative without constant human direction. So like if you go to ChatGPT right now and you're like, hey, ChatGPT, I need to write this performance review. I need help, enhancing. I've already written my employees' performance review. We're getting up on mid-year review time in my organization. And I need help, just refining this, making it more clear, more concise. Maybe it touches on points that were a blind spot for me that I kind of worded that too harshly or something, right? You can tell ChatGPT to do all that, but it needs your input. It needs your chat. So that's why ChatGPT is called ChatGPT. It's meant to be a chat. It's not, it's meant to be a conversation and a quote unquote, I hate this term, relationship, where it's like the robot lady. Anyway, a story for another day. But like if you're chatting with your tool, right? It's not just a Google, it's not just a search engine. There you go. Yes, agentic AI. You are meant to be in a relationship with it. You are meant to chat. It's meant to understand your tone, your lingo, your like, are you like, I swear, and I'm more down to earth, and I'm like, I talk with my hands, and I'm like, rah, rah, rah. But you have like a different vibe, right? Your ChatGPT relationship, or Claude, or Cowork, or Gemini, or whatever tool you're using, is going to tailor all of that to you once the tool knows you more. Whereas agentic AI doesn't require me to constantly be like, hey, I need you to go list every single Monday a digest of all of the speaking gigs that I can apply to. And I have Claude working in the background, and it's searching for all of those opportunities for me. And then on Monday morning, I get my little like CEO digest of here's all my things that I can go apply to. So I'm not having to constantly direct it on what to do.
Gotcha. Wow. Okay. So, how do you advise professionals to pitch these tools to maybe skeptical leadership or skeptical teams that are saying, well, now this is cheating. And now this is a pass for everyone to be lazy. You know what I mean? So I'm just, because there's going to be someone that's going to say we can't allow tools in the workplace that are going to prevent us from using our critical thinking skills, prevent us from developing professionally if we have something that is working while we're sleeping. So how do you
So
advise?
I'm going to put you in a time capsule.
Okay. Ooh.
And we are zooming on back to like 1995. and Windows 95 comes out, and we have our big computer set up, and we're sitting at that big oak computer desk with the giant monitor and then the big computer modem that sounds like it's about to take off at any second because it's probably overheating. You've got all your compact discs and all your floppy disks, and you got your speakers and your printer and maybe your fax machine, and you go to the internet and you sit down and you are in the internet, and then you can actually leave the internet and you can exit the internet. We can't do that anymore, right?
Right.
But back in the day, the internet was a place. Just like AI is kind of like, oh, what is this AI land? I don't know. Why do we need this? So if you think back 30 years ago, companies debated whether the internet belonged in the workplace. Today, we can't imagine working without it. So the same conversation is happening right now with AI. You've probably, already seen this play out if you're like a old dog like me, where you remember getting those AOL CDs in the mail for free 3 hours of dial-up internet or whatever. It started as early curiosity, then it kind of moves to widespread skepticism, then it goes to gradual normalization, and then it becomes rapid dependence. So new technology typically moves from why would we use this to
Yeah.
how did we ever work without it? And AI is no different.
That's good. That's good. All right, y'all. So as you were tuning in, maybe just now, Melisa is sharing some great information on how we can stay efficient, how we can stay productive, how we can stay adding value in the workplace, all while using AI. And we know it's different. We hear lots of conversations about this, but it's about how can we partner with it in a way that is going to continuously create efficiency. So, Melisa, as we are getting ready, and if you all have questions or comments, feel free to share those. Melisa, as we're getting ready to wrap up, I'm just curious, do you have any stories of maybe someone, it could be you, that maybe they approached this whole process with a little bit of hesitancy. They felt like involving this into their current routine or involving this into their current professional lives was not going to add value. It was going to create more chaos. They are intimidated by generative or maybe a genetic AI, and they're not sure how do they proceed. Do you have a story of someone who's maybe they learned how to approach it and learned how to use it?
Yeah. So I constantly say action cures fear. And if there's anything that you're, hesitant about, skeptical about, I invite you to just play in the sandbox. It's not going to hurt you to have a free Claude account, or maybe you like Gemini better, or Cowork, or Copilot, or ChatGPT, right? Start somewhere, start small. It can sound again like this AI, like this big thing of like, oh, now this is pressure. Now this is another thing I have to use. I'm already, on my phone enough. I don't want to have more digital noise. But believe me, you are not behind. In McKinsey's 2025 state of work study, it was a state of AI study that McKinsey put out. Nearly 2/3 of their respondents that took their survey say that their organizations have not yet begun scaling AI across the enterprise. So you're not behind. I invite you to just start small. So if you're watching this, say you're in HR, think of the last few things that gave you trouble basically in your job. So like pick one task that gave you trouble over the past month. Maybe it was a tough email, survey analysis, right? You sent out a survey in HR. We all love to do surveys. And then it's like this data just sits on a digital shelf collecting dust. And it's like, wait, hold on. We gathered the feedback. The people spoke. Now we need to like get back to them and tell them, how we're taking action on this feedback. Otherwise, it's like we did a survey just to do a survey, and then we just spin around in the survey merry-go-round. That's one of my pet peeves. Clearly, I'm passionate about it. But, see what your AI assistant can do with that information. They can take all of those really lengthy, open-ended comments and formulate really cool charts, graphs, slide decks to present to your ELT, to present to your leadership. And really just allowing AI to be on your side in those moments,
Yeah.
really make an impact.
No, that's good. That's great. I love that. I love that with how we essentially creating a process to every person, figure out where we want to start. Going back to your comment earlier, which is what do we want?
Mhm.
Even when it comes to AI, maybe even having something specific to what do we want when it comes to AI? What do we want to learn? What do we want to focus on? And to your point, one of the things that you mentioned earlier, Annette mentioned that I do think we need paid account for better privacy. Do you
Mhm.
have any remarks in regards to that comment?
Yeah, if you're using it, so if you're using it for like your personal life, hey, write me a new gym routine. I joined this new gym. They have these types of machines. Make me a 30-minute routine that I can do 3 times a week. Um, is your data being stolen or whatever if you're not using any of your personal information or the gym's info or location or any of that? Up to you. Same with like meal prepping. Hey, can you, I'm trying to lose 20 pounds by the end of summer. Can you come up with some protein focused meals for me to make on Sunday night every night so I have my meals for the week? Like, yeah, I mean, if you really want to get a paid account for that type of stuff, you don't have to use these tools to start with in your work life. You can start small, right? Start with like what you know, which is your personal life. If you're using it at work, so 3 things, 4 things. One, your company should, and if you're in HR, you should be having these conversations with your CTO, with your IT department, with your technology team, with your compliance and legal teams on acceptable use policy. So an AUP, how can employees use AI? When and where should they use AI? Do's and don'ts. What should we never put into there? Like we don't want our company name being put into there because then it's like crowdsourcing that info. Two, if you have a paid account, so I know ChatGPT and Claude the best. You can go into your settings, so whatever little gear icon you have in your platform, and if you're on a paid account in those areas, you can toggle over. I forget the exact verbiage. It's like don't use my information for other people or don't share my info, and they will keep your allegedly they'll keep it a locked box and not be like sharing it all through the world. So that's the second thing. The third thing is if you're in HR, I invite you to keep the human in human resources. So in the age of AI, it can be really easy to be like, oh, well, that person can just onboard them, or that person can just screen every single resume, or that person can, put them on a PIP and do the performance documentation. There should always be human eyes on all of those things. Anything that affects compensation, anything that affects like the whole human at the end of that transaction, human eyes should always be on it. And then I forgot what the fourth thing was, but but basically pick the tool, play in the sandbox, get a paid account if you want to, but definitely talk to your workplace about it. Start having these conversations. Hey, do we have an AUP? How can I use ChatGPT in my job? What do you think of this? And put it into your next one-on-one if you're an individual contributor. Yeah, good conversations to start having.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So, Melissa, as we are wrapping up today, two things. Number one, if someone remembers only one single thing from our conversation today, when they go back to work tomorrow morning, what do you want it to be? And then number two, how can people find you? How can they continue the conversation with you?
Yeah. So start small, start somewhere, take action because action cures fear. That is your takeaway. I'm Melisa Meral. You can find me on LinkedIn. My name is here down at the bottom. Both of my first and last name are spelled a little differently, but I'm not hard to find. And then you can check out my website. I book workshops and speaking gigs about this type of stuff all the time. And I'm at melisameral.com.
All right. Thank you so much, Melissa. I'm sharing this here, but I will go back and make sure I spelled it correctly. Yes.
Thank you so much. This has been really fun. This has been really cool to connect with you. And
Yes.
hey, we met each other through LinkedIn
I
and
know.
I love
Only
it.
LinkedIn.
Love it.
This has been great. Thank you so much, Melissa, for joining on this afternoon. And for those of you who are watching, please reach out and connect with Melissa. Continue the conversation. Let's continue to learn how we can be efficient in the workplace. Let's continue to learn how we can be time rich and use the most of our time and not be intimidated by AI, but use it as a strategic partner. All right, y'all, that is all that we have for today. If you came in late, go back and catch the replay and go back and then reach out to Melisa and ask her questions. All right, y'all, have a good one. Bye.
Thank you.